Hello and welcome to another episode of Film Freaks with a Z, the podcast all about movies. Every episode about a single movie, and of course we'll introduce today's movie in a little bit. But first, I gotta invite you, the listener, to join the fan vote. If you want to enter into the fan vote, just like our guest today, you can do one of the following. Talk in my Discord in the movie stuff section. Send us an email at ff.filmfreakswithaz@gmail.com or comment on the latest episode of Film Freaks with a Z. And you can also just DM us privately and tell us what movie you want to. It's all fine. We always want to get more movies on the votes, so if you have a movie in mind that you'd like us to talk about, make sure you contact one of us or use one of the ways I just mentioned. And before we introduce the movie, of course we're going to introduce ourselves. I am Soylent Ferret. Who am I here with?
Green waffles.
Red Mation.
And Soylent Blue, aka Callus.
And of course, we have a very special guest today. Who's there?
Chamillyon bean. I was going with Soylent beans. That's all I got.
Welcome in, Chamillyon. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
And you are the first female guest we've had on the podcast.
I know. I'm so honored.
No pressure.
Congratulations.
No pressure. I'll take that. All right,
So-
but I
Go ahead.
get started with the summary.
Well, go ahead and introduce yourself. I mean, we know that you're a streamer, a new gamer on the scene playing games for the first time.
Yes, yep. Just started gaming and streaming about 6 months ago. Loving it. Just making all sorts of friends. Play all sorts of games. Whatever people suggest, I'll give it a try.
Don't ask her about Wordle because that's a whole nother mess.
Wordle?
Oh no.
Game I've created. It's my own creation. Camilla Wordle.
It might be 3 words. It
Breaking
might
brains since 2022.
It might be English, it might be in Spanish, you never know.
I don't speak Spanish, but it might be Spanish.
Oh, give us the German word of the day.
Ooh, put me on the spot here. I usually
got
go with
this.
sentences, so we'll give a sentence you can say to your mom today, which is
nice.
"Ich liebe dich," which is "I love you."
Ich
Do we
liebe
trust
dich.
her?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm a little off. I don't know if I trust that.
I took 3 years of German. It's right. You just got
Really?
you gotta say it with a little bit more at the end. So it's
I know.
Ich liebe dich.
I'm still shy about it. Definitely need to get better.
Yeah,
Sounds like
as long
you're
as your
saying-
mom doesn't speak German, you can just tell her that's what it means.
That's
And she's like,
true.
aw, cute.
True. My dad
Exactly.
will be in the corner judging me.
All right, go ahead and introduce the movie for us.
All right. So the movie Soylent Green. The year is 2022. New York City has become overpopulated with 40 million people, and pollution has caused the temperature to be risen, and all natural resources have been destroyed, leaving 40 million people starving. The Soylent Company has created a new food product, Soylent Green. In the overpopulated and polluted New York City, police detective Thorne is assigned to investigate the brutal murder of a corporate official of the Soylent Company, William R. Simpson. Thorne's investigation into Simonson's murder leads him to uncover a conspiracy in the Soylent Company and the Soylent Green food product itself, where Thorne uncovers the horrible truth about Soylent Green. So, let's see. A couple actors here is Charlton Heston. He's the main character as Detective Thorne, and Edward G. Roth as Saul Roth. I guess they use his same last name. I didn't notice that. And Lee Taylor, which, funny enough, she is one of 2 characters from this movie that survived to 2022 to see the real 22 come about.
Oh wow.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't actually know who the other one is, but there were just
Charlton
2.
Heston's still alive, I believe.
Oh, then it must be him.
Yeah, I was like, unless
Yep.
he died recently, that I don't know about.
Yeah.
But
Are you sure? He seemed very kind of old in the movie already.
yeah, no, he's a
Oh.
very
he's-
NRA heavy person.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
he died. He died in 2008.
Oh,
How did he? Okay
this
then.
was quite a while
Doesn't
ago.
matter.
Hey, with the false information.
Well, I don't know. I don't pay attention to celebrity deaths.
Yeah, me
But you
neither.
said it so confidently, though. We could have
Yeah,
just
you
believed
did.
you.
I'm pretty sure I heard something in the news about him like recently, but guess not.
Oh,
But
funny.
again, my brain's like, oh, recently, yeah, 2004. That was recently.
Wow. Ugh.
Well, I had just so many thoughts about this movie, and that's actually why I suggested it, was because it started out as a joke for me to suggest it because I was trying to think of the like randomest, weirdest movie to suggest for you guys because I wanted something that would like create a lot of discussion. And so it started as a joke, and then I realized that it came out or that it was based in 2022, and I was like, oh, now I'm serious about this. But I guess my first question for you guys is I had a couple movies that it reminded me of and I felt like were pretty connected. The one movie that I thought about a lot was The Giver, or the book, if you guys have seen that. Have you guys seen or read that movie or book?
I've
Been a
read,
while.
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I
had to
read
read
the
the book
book
in then high school.
yeah, it was
Yes.
like junior high or high school, yeah.
Yeah, so
I did watch the movie, but I really don't remember it.
yeah. I mean, the basis of that is there's this one man that has all the knowledge of how the world previously was, and he like is kind of passing that on to just one person so that everybody else doesn't have to deal with it. And so I thought about that a lot in relation to this movie because, Saul, the older guy, he kind of remembers what the world used to be like, and he like everybody else around him just doesn't even know what they're missing out on. So I was kind of wondering what movies you guys compared this to as you watched it. Or book.
I didn't really compare it to like any specific movie, but it did remind me a lot of like a Alfred Hitchcock film, because that is not like in style, but like in the way like the story like progressed and like the mystery of it all, like how the whole movie is basically just trying to figure out what the secret is of Soylent Green. That just reminded me of so many of Hitchcock's mystery movies.
Mhm.
Yeah, I can see
So
that.
maybe he got heavily inspired by by him.
Yeah.
Yeah. As for me, yeah, it didn't make me think of any other specific movie. But I don't know. I was kind of looking at more in the lens of where they thought we would be in 2022 and where we are now.
Right.
And I did look up because I was like, 40 million. Is that like a lot for a city? I don't
That's
remember.
like 4 times what it is.
Yeah,
right now, isn't it?
there's like 8
Yeah.
million are in New York, like 8.1 million.
Oh, wow.
So
That's
yeah,
pretty
it's
crazy.
it's quite a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, you got people like just laying and just sleeping in the stairwell, just
Yeah.
like all over the place.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be crazy. Like just trying to go down the stairs and the way he was like jumping over everyone and just like landing on people. I would
yeah.
thankfully we're not there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I was really thinking of Back to the Future 2 and how like optimistic that movie is, and
Oh, yeah.
how like
Yeah.
oh, we're gonna have flying cars and all this stuff, and then you go to a movie like this, and I know there's more like it, but it's just such a bleak and just kind of like dark kind of interpretation of the future all the way back in the 70s.
Yeah.
You don't see that too often, especially in these older films, because I there was a lot of hope for the future, and like thinking about the writers and the directors making this movie back in the 70s or even probably into the 60s, just like they must have like really thought that the world was gonna go to shit quickly,
Yeah.
Right.
So I did just look this up. Tokyo has 37 million people in it.
Wow.
So that's close to this, and it's still nowhere near as bad as With, of course, I mean, most of them, they live in a lot of them live in small, tiny apartments. So I don't know, maybe.
and not even apartments. So
Yeah.
After watching
Right.
this movie, it did kind of get me thinking about the one movie I recommended about the plague, Carriers.
carries.
Remember
Oh,
that
yeah.
movie?
Mm, right.
I only compared it because it takes place in the same year, or it takes place somewhere around this time. But
Yeah,
that's
a
the
little
only
bit,
reason why I
less
connected.
people, but
But yeah, I mean, less
Yeah.
people, more horror, I guess. But
more horrible. Oh,
Yeah. Oh,
I guess the one thing that I kind of noticed, and obviously they're not going to be able to show this too well, but it seemed like there was a lot of times when there was just kind of like nobody around. And I know there was like a curfew at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I feel like, let's say those street sweeper type things that lift people and put them
The
into the cells.
scoopers.
Scoops.
The scoops come around and lift the people up who are, in the streets still. I would have liked to see that just so we know kind of like why there's a ban at night,
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
I
the-
figured like
Go
that's why
ahead.
I figured that's why the churches and the stairwells were full. Those are just the people who don't have homes and they just go in to get out, get off the streets from curfew.
Yeah, off the street.
And that's why you don't
So-
see any of this like a lot of the streets outside or the stairs outside with people sleeping on them.
They did
But-
show like the like a couple scenes at nighttime when he's walking around, and like yeah, the streets are pretty empty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even in front of like that, well, of course we'll probably talk about it more later, but like that building where people go to die, you would think that there would be people milling about a little bit, because even when he exited the building, there were people walking in.
Yeah.
So it's like, this curfew not apply to those people because they're going to die anyway?
I guess so.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, huh?
Your
Well,
time's
hey,
up. We'll not
Flood
scoop
hole
you.
film.
Yeah.
You're breaking curfew. I'm going home. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like the line for the suicide booth in Futurama,
Yeah.
Oh, you're in line for that. All right, we'll let you stand there for now.
Real quick, I wanted to talk about like the opening for the movie, how it was just like images and the music, and actually thought it was like really well done the way like it just set up the premise of the movie, just showing like normal everyday life, and then just slowly started getting worse and worse and worse, and then eventually just started showing like all this pollution and ravaged streets, people in masks, which
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, this totally is 2022, people in masks.
Yeah.
I mean, they
I did
were
see
wearing
the
masks.
mask. Yeah, I did see the mask in the beginning. I was like, oh, maybe this is a
Yeah.
little couple parallels to the movie, but
And then they didn't wear masks.
Yeah.
And with all that
There were a
pollution, like
couple.
the air is green. You think people would be wearing some sort of mask or ventilators or something?
There was a bunch of people. They had like these little cloth things strapped around their mouths.
Sometimes,
Some-
mostly
some
around their
everybody.
heads.
I mean that's what people had literally this year too. So I mean,
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah, but you'd think more people would have that, not just a few.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe they're just so used to it. They're just like, oh, well, this is just what we breathe.
Yeah, there's a lot of people born into it, just like the main character of the movie, and so they
Yeah.
don't know any better. So
Right.
maybe it's the older people who are wearing the protection, while the younger people are just kind of, living with it.
Yeah. 'cause
That
they-
hits home too much. No, I'm kidding.
But I thought that the opening was effective. It was effective at telling you without too much like. They didn't have to like explain everything with words. They just kind of like showing the images with a few things in the background, and I thought that was very effective. It was more of a show, not tell scenario.
Yeah, and this is why the
there's-
writers thought that we would go to shit, because those are like real pictures. None of those are like faked.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And they saw those pictures and went, "Oh, this is going south fast."
Yeah.
They were just off by a few decades.
Yeah, we'll be there soon.
Yeah,
Wait,
maybe not the overpopulation thing, but
You don't think so? Aren't there a lot of people?
there
It
are a lot
seems
of
like-
people.
It seems like everywhere is growing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but also like there's a lot of people not having kids.
That's true.
So
I mean,
so-
It is interesting
trying
to
to
think
still
like
have like limits on how many kids you can have.
yeah, and they might eventually do that. Be like, hey, you can't have more than 3 kids.
China.
China.
Like
Yeah, I was like,
China.
what are we, China?
Hey, we're giving you 3 kids, not 1.
Right.
Much better.
But it's interesting to think though, like if there's like a food shortage, wouldn't you think there's like more people dying than being born?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we don't want to get into the spoiler yet, right? But yeah, if there's a lot of people dying from hunger and starvation and pollution and just randomly being shot on the street or scooped into you would think this population thing would be like Are people all having triplets?
Terrible.
Well, I mean, you think back to the days when farmers, they would have like 12 kids to work the farm, and not everyone
Yeah.
would make it through that. Maybe they're just thinking of those kind of ways where people would still be able to reproduce fast enough to overpopulate. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they thought the baby boomers were gonna continue.
Oh,
Maybe they were
Yeah,
just
there
planning.
you go.
yeah.
They're just planning ahead.
Maybe. That is true. We have context of like the baby boomer generation being around that time. So yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
and
they
so
thought they were
they're-
just going to continue.
Yeah, and if it had, we would be there by now. But luckily, people cooled off on the having babies.
People got hobbies.
Yeah, got pets.
The one thing I want to point out before we go any further, the lack of, I don't think there was one single animal in the movie, and also the limited amount of plants in the movie too.
Yeah.
They really did that tells you more of, they didn't have to specifically say that every single animal went extinct or whatever. They just they didn't have any in the movie. So I was just like, I haven't seen like a dog or a cat or anything, and not even like the higher up people who are rich have pets either.
Well,
that's
yeah,
true.
they're food.
Yeah,
They would eat them super quick.
They already ate them all into extinction.
Yeah.
Um,
And no like rodents. Like I didn't see any rats or anything.
no.
They're edible too.
Yep. So yeah, that is interesting. I mean, we know there are some animals because they were able to get that slab of beef.
right.
It's rare, but there's probably a few animals, and the fact that he's able to, and then kind of toward the end of the movie talks about they're going to breed us like cattle. So obviously he knows.
Yeah.
They
Knows
one
what
of
cattle
the
is.
yeah, one of the characters did mention that there are farms out there that are like
Yeah.
fortresses from like how guarded they are. So I imagine there's a couple animals there.
Well, you think about the one guy owned like the last trees in the area or whatever. He had like the tent around them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you wonder if it really is like, hey, there's only like a male and a female cow, and that's kind of all we got left at some of these farms.
All the beef you get is veal.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called? Yeah, that's the baby. That's the baby cow meat, right?
I'll believe it if you say it with confidence.
That's usually my strategy.
I'm gonna look it up to prove you wrong right now.
Okay, do it.
Oh,
How is this always Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's a good point. Didn't think
Yeah.
about that.
I did notice the fact that there's like no green or vegetation anywhere.
Yeah.
But I mean, I didn't really inspect like every single scene carefully to see if there's. Oh, look, there's a tree in the background. They
Yeah,
messed
but
up.
would you expect that? Because they're like more city-like than like country-like.
That's
Yeah.
You know what I
true.
mean? So it was more, a lot of like that apartment and the house. So I don't know. I just didn't
It's
think
New
about
York.
This is only kind of related, but I did read that they the set that they used, generally they would have done certain angles to avoid showing part of the set that wasn't complete, but in some of these scenes they didn't do that because they wanted it to look like half destroyed and half like incomplete because that's what the city had become. So they kind of
Nice.
used like set right next to not set.
Unfinished set next to
Yeah.
finished set. Nice.
Yeah.
That is a good detail.
That is totally related. Give us more of those facts.
The other fact I have is that Stephen Young is the other actor that has survived to 2022,
Oh,
which is
He
Gilbert.
played. Is he like the
He's
assassin they
Gilbert.
hired?
I have no idea.
it was the guy who
Yeah.
killed the
The rich guy.
the rich guy with the pickaxe or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the
Yeah.
one that shoots
Yeah.
Yeah, he
that
also
guy
tries to
in
shoot.
the
tries
shin.
to, yeah, he shoots Charlie in the shin and a bunch of other civilians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Which-
bet you the baby, that was tied to the dead mom. I bet that baby survived. He's still alive.
Terrible.
Wait, that was a baby?
That might be true. I think this fact specified that it was like the stars of the
main-
film, so
yeah,
they probably
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
consider that.
Mm.
But you don't remember the baby being tied to the dead mom?
I-
that
and-
was
remember now, yeah.
horrible.
Yeah.
That was the worst part.
That was pretty bad.
But there were a lot
Heartbreaking.
of parts in this movie that, like, I audibly gasped. Like, I think the first half an hour of the movie, I was kind of bored. I was like, okay, I'm kind of over this movie. But then a little over halfway through, I was like so intently watching the movie, and I was like, I'd seen this before, but I was probably younger than 10. Like, I remembered hardly anything. I remembered the main plot, and that was it. And I was like so shocked when the scoopers came over and like smashed that guy. I was like, my roommate was like, "What are you watching?" I was like, "I don't know. Who suggested this."
Should have been like Scoopers smashing people. No.
Smashing,
This
yes.
is the new battle bots.
Oh yeah, there you go.
This is the new season of Build. What's it called?
Destroy, build, destroy.
Build. Yeah, Destroy.
So
I
wait a
think-
second.
Oh,
Do,
so
do the scoopers? All right, real quick.
No,
Do
go
those
ahead, Cal.
scoopers like put people inside the whatever the tank in the back and take them to the processing plant? Is that what they're scooping them up for?
I mean, that's what I
I
figured.
was wondering that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I was
That's what
wondering
I'm
that too,
assuming.
or if they were just being taken to, whatever the equivalent of gel is in this world.
Yeah.
I did
was
find it
kind of
weird.
inclined to think we weren't taking them to the Soylent plant.
Yeah, I did find it weird that once they were thrown into the back, like you didn't see anyone trying to climb out or anything.
Yeah.
Well, even when they were like on the scoops, no one was really trying to get off.
You would
Oh,
see a
let's
few
see, one of
people
them.
jump off. Yeah, I saw a
One?
few people jump
Go
off.
on.
Like, if I was in that scoop, I'd be doing everything in my power to get out of there. But there's
Yeah,
some people who are just like, this is a pretty fun ride.
But think of it, you're with a bunch of people. You're all tangled up. About time you probably won't have enough time to
Hold
react.
on. I mean, you can see how they're placed in those things. They're not like tangled up or anything. They're just kind of sitting there. Look, I mean, it could have made it a little bit more believable that they were stuck in there or something. But I mean, for the context of the movie, I can forgive and forget. But I saw I mentioned like it seems like it'd be kind of easy to just kind of like get out of that. At least, especially before it starts lifting. Like there was people kind of just sitting inside of it when it was being on the ground.
Yeah, especially at night. I guess if you're kind of like just with a few people and you're on the streets. I don't know. Maybe in like a riot, like like towards the end, maybe could be more believable. But I don't know.
It was a riot when
Yeah,
it
no.
started scooping them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The scoops came pretty fast. I mean, the riot started, and then they were like, "Scoops, pull in."
Scoops are in the way.
Yeah, I just I would have liked to see like maybe one of those trucks at the Soylent plant at the end of the movie, just to kind of like be
Yeah.
like, oh, so that is what happening. But we don't
Yeah.
really get context on that. I think that's one of my big problems with the movie is some things just don't have context. There's some things that they dive really hard into, and then there's other things that are just like, well, there's scoops in the future. It's like, okay, so what's with the scoops? Why is this more effective than something else?
I also like that their riot gear was just football helmets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
I like that.
They're like, what's going to be in 2022 football. So
Football.
Well,
No,
maybe there's
football
not
doesn't
football,
exist
but
anymore,
they
and the helmets still do though.
Yeah.
So
but I do agree with you, Yemmy. It was there was a lot of unexplained things and a lot of interesting and like confusing things too. That was just kind of like, this is how it's gonna be, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What
There's
else
some-
was unexplained?
Was that?
I was just asking Yemmy, like, what else is like unexplained?
So like there's like the people who are in the building with the books. It's kind of
Oh,
hard.
yeah.
It's kind of
The
hard to understand.
exchange.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to understand exactly what they are there for. Like I understand it's something about. It's got to be like a group of judges or something, right? Because they're
Yeah,
gonna-
they're judges.
But it was hard to understand when they were just kind of like talking together,
yeah,
Yeah.
or like why
or how
this
Roth
exchange
was
created.
or how Roth was related to it and all that.
Yeah.
I
was
feel like
also-
good.
Oh, I was gonna kind of move on. So you go ahead.
Oh, okay. I mean, I think I kind of get what they were explaining, but like in the beginning when Roth was like questioning the one chick, and she went to go pick up the spoon, and is it because like they just had like expensive strawberry jam? Like, was that it?
Yeah,
Yeah, that
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So,
Yeah,
alright, that
essentially
makes a little more
he was able to figure that the bodyguard was getting extra money because he had a jar of $150 strawberry jam, or at least just a spoonful. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So that makes more sense because I
Yeah,
was a
I
little
was
confused on
initially
that.
confused about that too.
And then the same thing with the safe that he looked into when in the bedroom or the
Yeah.
Incinerator.
the incinerator. Yeah, I was like, what's that about?
Yeah, that one never really got explained.
It took me a little while to understand what the furniture girls were all about.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's what
by
I
the
was
end,
gonna bring up.
by the scene that all the girls are in the room, I'm like, okay, I'm kind of understanding what this is all about now.
Yeah, no, I was able to quickly pick up on what that was about, and I was like, oh, well, I guess.
Yeah.
Welcome to
what'd you-
2022.
Yeah, so what you guys think of like just the main character Thorn, like as just a person?
I did not like him at all.
Yeah, either did I.
Yeah, he wasn't
And I was
super
really
likable.
fascinated by that. Yeah, that the main character was not likable.
I like him like as an actor. Like he did a really good job in that role.
Yeah.
I was about to
Yeah.
say the opposite. I felt like he was out of place in his role. I
Well,
don't know.
Yeah, I don't like. I don't know. It felt like for me, it was like this is not Charlton Heston acting. This is just Charlton Heston being Charlton Heston.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the I look at it in the way that he's kind of angry that the higher ups get all this cool stuff, and that's why he steals all the stuff, and he takes advantage of the fact that he's a police officer and no one can really do anything to him as he's going about his business.
Yeah.
So in general he's going to be more of a jerk because he can take the jelly, he can take the et cetera, and no one's going to really bat an eye.
Mm-hmm.
he's what you would call like an anti-hero, right? Or I guess he's kind of the hero too. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. It just to me it reads like typical 70s, like this is what a man is.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean this movie's still very 70s even though it's based in the 2022s. They still got like old TVs and like the game that the girl's playing at the beginning. It's like, wow, this is so high tech, and it's like,
You're playing asteroids.
It's funny because this movie just feels so dated because they don't really have anything super futuristic. But I guess it does kind of make sense because the future is so bleak in this movie that they're not going to have the super fancy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, after everything fell apart, everyone was just stuck on technology from the 70s.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like technology just stopped. Like,
yeah, no more.
Maybe that was the point. Except for the facility at the end that Saul goes to, you see they have like giant projectors still, and
yeah, I mean, kind of the same thing. I mean, kind of, the first like 30 minutes of the movie, I was like, wow, this just kind of feels like a 70s movie that they say is based in the 2022s. And then as the movie went on, I was like, okay, it does feel more like a future movie now than it did before. So I got on board towards the end.
Yeah, it definitely did not feel like a 2022 like feature set movie. And I did say last episode that if there was one flying car, I was gonna be upset, but there wasn't. So I wasn't.
Yeah, so you can't be upset. You have to go to 5 out of 5.
But now that you mentioned that arcade machine, like that's actually it's called Computer Space, and it was like the very first ever video arcade machine that was like commercially available. Nolan Bushnell, like the very first video game.
Yeah.
So it's surprising that it looked in great shape considering that thing came out like 50 years earlier, supposedly.
Well,
I mean, it kind of looked futuristic for the time,
Yeah, and like I said, you have to remember that technology halted, but they still had the technology like they had then. So they still were maybe making those cabinets. Maybe that's probably not making much money though because no one could buy them.
Yeah. Well, they just make them super rich, and then the rich people think, "Oh, I need that. I need to spend my money."
Yeah.
But yeah, that machine pretty much launched the video game industry.
Oh.
It's the very first one.
Nice. I mean, it was no Pong, but
or Pac-Man.
No, Pac-Man was later. I think Pac-Man
Yeah.
was the 80s. But yeah, Pong was the first video game ever created.
Right. Any other scenes
Anyways.
you guys want to talk about?
I don't have a scene, but I do have something about the movie I want to talk about. But if someone has another scene they want to talk about, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay. What do you guys think about the sound effects in this movie? Because they seem
Oh,
a little
jeez.
off.
Yeah, they-
They were a lot.
Especially at the end, the punching. I was like,
Oh,
what is-
yeah.
I was like, what? I was
It's
like, did they
definitely
run out of
70s.
money? I was like, did they run out of money or something?
It was typical 70s sound effect. If you've watched a lot of bad like B movies from that era, it was like the exact same sound effects. Like all the walking was the same sound effects, and yeah, the punching, the shooting.
I don't know. I was just laughing. I was just
Yeah.
laughing at the end when they were fighting each other, and literally sounded like I don't even know how to describe it. It sounded like they were like hitting pans or something. I was like, what?
It could have very well
Yeah, it
been
was pretty
pans.
bad.
But it was
Usually
also
a
weird.
slab
Like,
of meat.
yeah,
I don't think it helped that it went from the shooting then to the fighting, and then maybe the shooting was like overpowering the punch. I don't know. It just didn't seem right. It didn't feel right.
And I found it weird how like when he got shot in the graveyard scene, like there was no voices at all from anyone. Like
Yeah.
you see his mouth open, but no screams.
Maybe he was just in shock.
And
It was the silent scream.
yeah, and all the lovely paint as blood.
Yeah.
Oh
Like-
my gosh.
Like when he's
So
following the
red.
trail of blood
Oh.
through the church, I'm like, oh no, someone has painted recently and they're spilling their paint
Oh,
everywhere.
that bothered me so much. Like I used to face paint and I'd do some special effects in high school and stuff. So like I could have done better than that as an amateur. I was like, are you kidding? That's the best blood you could do.
I think that's what they're only allowed to do, because if it looked too real, like it would be, get a higher rating, or it just wouldn't be allowed to be put out. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think
Well,
that
that's
You might be right.
interesting.
yeah.
Everyone
That's
in there,
ridiculous.
everyone in there is like, oh, there goes the priest again with this red paint.
Yeah, but the
Did anyone
priest
catch the
has died at
rating?
that point.
That's true.
Yeah.
What
that's
is
true.
it?
Oh, it's rated PG. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
they
yeah,
didn't
back
have,
then
they
it
didn't have
was only-
PG-13, so.
Yeah, back then it's just PG or R. That's it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Simple times back then. No.
Which is why we got a movie like Airplane, where like a woman is basically shown topless, and it's rated PG.
Yeah.
So
Well-
I have my own fun fact about this movie. Not as fun as Chamillion's, but Edward G. Robinson, who played Roth in the movie, he actually he actually died 12 days after the filming concluded on his final scene.
Right.
Wow.
So his final scene is, of course, his death scene in the movie. So
Not a fun fact. That's
how
a sad
crazy is
fact.
that? I told you.
That's not a fun fact.
I literally prefaced that by saying it's not a fun fact.
I know. Listen.
Now,
But-
here's the question: was that actually the last scene they filmed with him? Because they don't
believe
always
it
film these in
was.
order.
I mean, that's what the trivia said. So
okay.
I can
Okay,
only
I guess
trust
we'll
the
believe
trivia.
it. We'll believe
Yeah,
it for now.
I'll believe it.
So
I'll believe
him getting carted off is his last scene.
Yeah.
But
Well, let's talk about-
That's crazy though.
Let's talk about that scene while we're at the topic, with Soul just passing away in that room.
the suicide
thought-
room.
Yeah, the suicide room. See, the reason why I thought Charles Heston did a good job is because of that one scene where he was seeing all the images of the
Yeah.
Earth, how Earth was
Mhm.
in the past, and you can just see the emotions, just like you see his eyes light up, and you can tell that he was moved. It reminded me a lot of. Well, have any of you guys seen Equilibrium?
Yes.
Yeah, that one
Yeah.
scene where the main character. Well, I guess I don't want to say anything, so because I don't want to spoil it.
It's all right. You go ahead.
Well, that's what it's going to suggest next time. So,
Really?
Oh,
There
really?
you go.
yeah, I read Callus's diary.
Cute.
Nice.
But yeah, that whole scene was like that 5 minutes or 10 minutes, however long that scene was definitely probably one of the best scenes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I read that like they knew Saul, the actor for Saul, he had cancer, so they knew he was gonna die. So they speculated that like his emotions were because he knew this friend of his was like actually going to die in real life. So I'm sure he was kind of projecting those emotions a little bit.
Oh, that makes me
Sad.
sad.
Were they actually
Sad.
friends though?
I don't know. We'll
Maybe he
never
was
know.
thinking deep down, God, I'm glad he's going.
That's terrible.
Well, Charlton Heston's kind of terrible. So.
Oh. So
I was looking into Edward Robinson's film history. He's actually got a pretty lengthy film list, and he got a lifetime achievement award, but he never won like anything super crazy. But there were some. I mean, it was a long list. I was very surprised. He had a very long career, and this was his last movie, of course.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should do a marathon where we all have to pick one of his movies for the next pick.
That'd be a lot of oldies in a row.
Yeah.
Yes, it would
Yeah.
be.
I felt bad I put an end to your music theme.
Oh no, you're fine.
Oh, you're fine.
It was over. It was over.
Now, it's time for the new theme, and maybe we'll do bleak future movies.
Yeah.
Well, let's see
I
what
already-
Yemmy picks.
I already did characters, so we should have started back then.
There's plenty to choose from. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Let's
I'll pick it again. No.
Getting back to the scene, though, I think that as Greedy said, it was probably the best scene in the movie, and it just kind of leads into that ending craziness where Charlton goes through the
the big
Soylent
mystery
factory.
is
Yeah.
revealed.
And even though I didn't exactly know what the mystery was, I pretty much by that point I kind of understood, like, yeah, it's probably
When I saw him jumping on inside of the dump trucks, I was like, okay, yeah, that's the point where I knew what the whole big mystery was. That's
I'm
when I
surprised
figured
you
it out.
guys, especially you, Callus,
What?
didn't know. Like, it's such a it was such a meme. Like, not necessarily a meme, but like kids' cartoons, like Animaniacs, Looney Tunes, and Tiny Toons. All of those shows, like, always at least had some sort of reference to Soylent Green. And
Really?
yeah, so like that's the only reason I knew, like, from long ago what the
Well, can you give me
mystery was.
like one example? Because I did watch all those cartoons.
Yeah, me too. But I mean, I
Like-
didn't know anything about Soylent Green until
Yeah.
now.
Probably just
That's
missed
fair.
it because you didn't know what they were referring
Yeah,
to.
maybe.
Probably.
I don't know.
yeah.
Like, it's like there's
Some
just a
misreference.
like I think in Animaniacs there's just a part where like they have Charlton Heston, a character like that's supposed to be Charlton Heston, and he says something like, "It's people, Soylent Green is people,"
Wow.
and that's what we've been hiding from you guys.
That's what
listeners.
I've been hiding.
The secret is out.
Soylent Green was indeed people.
I watched the trailer for this movie, and it reminded me a lot of the trailer for The Matrix, because the trailer is all about what is the mystery of Soylent Green, and like they repeat it so many times, and like this character, he died with the secret, or this other character, he would rather die than tell the secret, and it's just making this whole big deal of, similarly when The Matrix came out, it's like, what is the Matrix? That was the big mystery. That was like what the whole advertising revolves around.
Yeah.
Yeah, nowadays trailers just kind of give away the whole plot. So
Dude,
Yeah.
no, back in the old days, they'd give away the whole plot, but it was narrated.
Yeah. Not
Well, I
this one,
know
though.
the Blade,
that's good, this
the
one was.
newer Blade Runner movie. They gave away the fact that one of the characters returned, and that like the director was super pissed that they did that.
Oops.
Because like
Harrison
that was
Ford.
supposed to be like, God damn it, Callus! I was trying to hide it for people who didn't know.
Everyone,
This movie's a couple years old now.
Just a couple of years.
Damn it, Callus!
Full of spoilers here.
Bleep me out.
that's what we do here. That's what we do.
I was trying so hard to talk around it, and Callus just like Harrison Ford.
But I haven't seen the movie.
mean Harrison Ford. Are you?
And I haven't seen that movie, but I knew Harrison Ford was in it.
That's because he's on the poster
Yeah.
and he's in the
Yeah, I
trailer.
I didn't spoil
Yeah.
anything because apparently it's on the trailer.
I didn't know they were trying to keep that a secret. I thought
Yeah,
like,
that was the big story at the time.
Well, come on, you're gonna make a Blade Runner sequel and you're not gonna put Harrison Ford in?
I guess how he
It's pretty
shows up the
obvious.
movie is like the big spoiler, and I think they showed it in the trailer.
Hmm,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
How's
you
it
kind
gonna?
of what?
Cows is gonna message Yemmy, and he's gonna be like, "Why am I muted the past 20 minutes of the podcast?"
We keep everything in, so
Even all our goofs and mistakes and bad takes on things.
Or when you accidentally watch the wrong movie.
Yeah, who could have done that?
What?
Callus.
I thought it was Coco.
Yeah,
that's
I
why
thought it was Greedy who
Not me,
watched
I was-
Lilo and Stitch 2 instead of Lilo and Stitch 1.
Yeah, that was season 2.
Oh yeah.
That was season 2.
Well, that was season 1.
Yeah, that was season 1. That was before I
Yeah,
came
we're
in.
in season 2. Never mind.
That's why we can say it was
We're
Coco.
way
Sorry.
off topic, people. Come on, let's
Sorry,
reel it back
Coco.
in.
Hey,
You're not here to defend yourself, so
Hey.
we can
Yemmy,
say it's him.
is this the first time you've seen this movie?
Yes.
Okay, because there was when they said govna in there, it sounded like you. Like when you stream sometimes, you're like govna. Like that scene reminded me of you. I was like, did Yemmy get this from this movie? So I was wondering. I don't know.
Governor?
Yeah.
That's on a lot of movies.
Yeah, I feel like that's common.
I think
Uh,
My Fair Lady.
I don't even remember them saying that.
Oh.
I don't either.
Oh, you guys don't remember? Oh, come on.
You must have gotten the unrated version.
I watched the wrong movie. No.
It just
Yeah.
had that one line different.
It was real quick. It was like just a 5-second thing, and it was just they moved on.
Oh, another thing that was unexplained. Why are there dudes with assault rifles standing or sitting at the top of this in these apartment buildings?
Make sure people don't get killed for their homes.
Yeah, protecting the people that the homeowners.
That actually, pay
So the-
rent.
Protect the
Okay.
rich.
All right, I get it now. Then I was kind of confused. I'm like, okay, I mean, is he there to shoot these people just in case they go up the stairs too far? Is he supposed to shoot people who just kind of walk in without residence? Like, I don't get it.
I mean, yes to all the above, probably.
Yeah.
Just protection. Make sure.
Well, as you
You have a
guys
lot
said,
of
these
pulled-out
people kind
homes.
of they file in at night to kind of just sleep there. So
Yeah.
it's odd that he lets them get that far into the building and then be like, all right, no more past this line.
Well, I think if you notice, it's only in the people who make more money. Like it's not like the apartment of Thorn doesn't have one of those guys, and that's why there's people sleeping on
Oh,
those
it
stairs.
Oh yeah, there is.
I did notice it.
Was
Yeah,
there?
I noticed the guy at the top. Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine being the guy to sleep on top of the stairs and you roll over to
Oh
in your
yeah,
sleep,
I did
and
notice.
then all of a sudden you get a bullet just by rolling over in your sleep.
So, what'd you guys think of the whole murder mystery at the beginning?
The investigation.
I was
Would be
actually
called a murder
totally
mystery.
surprised that the guard was involved at all. Like, I was convinced 100% that he was not involved in anything.
I was too.
Oh, the bodyguard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thought he was so sweet.
Yeah, it's interesting that Charlie guy wasn't in any way. The
Yeah.
guy who owned the building.
Yeah.
Because I
yeah.
figured that he shut down the security system, which allowed the guy to come in, but I guess it was the bodyguard or something.
Yeah.
What'd you guys think of Cheryl actually falling for Thorn?
Wasn't a
seem nat-
fan.
Did that seem
That's kinda
natural
odd. I mean,
anyway? Yeah.
no,
Yeah, it didn't
Not
seem
natural at all.
natural at all. That's which is why I just thought that she was just doing her business thing. But then she was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I want to run away with you. I want to live with you." It's like,
Well,
Yeah.
to me, at first, I figured, oh, it's because she's just super lonely. Like she has no one at all, and she's just, this is the only person that shows up, so she got attached to him. But yeah, for her to just want to run away, that just seemed very sudden and weird.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very-
especially before meeting the new tenant or whatever. Like, after she met him and he was terrible, like, I could understand that, but
Yeah.
he was just hanging out by herself for a while.
Well,
Still
yeah,
wanted to run away.
it
That's
just seemed
sick of
weird
her
too
girl.
when he's just like, go to the bedroom, get in the bed, and she, it's like she's doing this thing. It's like, okay, yeah, that's kind of her profession, and she doesn't want to get beat up by this guy. So sure, she's
Right.
following his orders. But then suddenly, just like, yeah, no, I love you. Like,
Yeah.
sorry, what?
Well, I thought she was just doing it because he's a cop and they
Yeah.
don't, disobey cops back then.
Mm.
Exactly. Like, say, if it was just for that reason, it'd been okay. Yeah, that makes sense. But then to have her suddenly be like, "But I want to run away with you. I love you." It's like, I'm sorry. Yeah, that was off.
Yeah, I almost wonder if when she would have gotten to his house or apartment, she would have been like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go back."
And all of a sudden, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
So wait, does Thorn and Soul live together in that small apartment? Is that
Yeah,
what was going on?
Yeah. Because the police officer or the lieutenant says something about they would replace him if he was not good at his job anymore or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think the police fund the apartment so that they can both live in it
Yeah.
Makes sense.
because they're partners on the case.
So what do we think Thorn's fate was in the end? Did he just get Soylented?
Yeah, I was under the impression that the lieutenant was in on it, and
I was wondering that too. I think so.
and
I
that's
think-
why
I think it was
backup
just-
didn't come outside fast, and that's also.
I think he was just paid off,
Yeah.
though. I don't think he was.
Yeah, I don't
involved,
think it
just
was.
paid
Yeah, I
off.
don't think he knew
Well,
what it was.
That's what I
but-
mean. He was paid off. So
Oh, okay.
But once he actually found out what it was, I don't know. And also, there was
How did he-
no reaction from the crowd of wait, what?
Yeah.
They're just all
yeah,
like,
there was no one reacted. I didn't even think that
Whatevs.
the lieutenant really reacted at all either. I mean, he was just kind of
Yeah.
reassuring them that he would do something. But I think when the medics were taking him away, the lieutenant knew he's never coming back,
yeah.
and he probably didn't want that same fate, so he kept kept it quiet. So I think in the end. And honestly, I don't know. This is an opinion thing that you guys can answer too. Would it be better to stop the production of this Soylent Green or let people starve?
Well, it depends on the process, because
I mean, I would rather starve.
I mean,
cannibalism causes some problems with people.
Right.
So
I mean, obviously they're doing something to.
Yeah, they're heavily processing it into the Soylent Green to, I guess, take away the bad elements. I don't know.
yeah.
That's what I would think. I would think that. I mean, all your scientific reasoning aside, okay. I think in the context of it all, I think they're breaking down the bodies in that big vat, and then they're doing some sort of process to make it into that chip thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm guessing that it's okay for human consumption. I mean,
Oh, it's
obviously,
probably
since obviously since it just came out, we don't know the ramifications of people eating it. But I mean, I don't know. It's a tough decision because it's okay, well, now we got millions of people starving instead of millions of people being fed. But then it's okay, but you're using dead human beings to make the product. Yeah, I don't know.
I like the Snowpiercer one better. Processed roaches
Oh,
The bugs.
better than people.
yes.
There you go. That's what we need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would much rather starve than eat people. So I think I would vote for stopping the production of Soylent Green. I wouldn't be able to handle that.
It all depends how good the chips
Yeah.
were.
If I could just get a taste before I make my decision, that's all.
Yeah, let me get a little lick and then I'll.
And they
If
said
you
it
were-
was the best tasting of the Soylents.
Ugh.
That's true.
So
If you were Saul and found out, would you try to spread the word, or would you do what he did and just decide to die?
yeah,
Well, I
think-
mean, for Saul, he was already contemplating doing that. So even without knowing that, so if I was old like Saul, yeah, I'd probably just I'm just done.
You just let everybody else figure it out?
Yeah, because he knew the higher ups would probably try to get him murdered if he tried to do something.
Yeah,
well, especially
better
'cause
to
he's
die
already-
peacefully.
He's already investigating this case where someone who's super rich got killed. He's just a lowly old man. He probably wanted to go out on his own terms rather than be a whistleblower. But in the end, I mean, he still kind of was sort of a whistleblower when the policeman
Right.
was in there.
Which he was okay with, because he's like, "This is your problem now, by the
Yeah.
way."
This is your burden. Same thing happens to the preacher. The
Yeah.
rich guy confessed to him, this is your burden now. Do with it what
Yeah.
you will.
He's like, peace, I'm out.
poor priest doesn't like. I couldn't tell if like that what he had learned from the Samson or whatever like broke him, or if he was already broken, so he really doesn't even remember anything.
No, I do think that
Like a
that's what
bolt.
kind of broke him in general.
Okay.
I do agree with them.
Because I would think that he was a pretty optimistic guy before that all happened. I mean,
Yeah.
they definitely made it a point to be like, he's heard some things. He's got like some sort of
Yeah.
PTSD.
That's
Kinda
kind of
what I
what
got
I
out of
was
it, too.
leaning towards, but I just wasn't like. But yeah, I just wasn't 100% sure. It was like, was he like this before, or? But yeah, he wasn't going to tell anyone. He can't. It broke him. He couldn't. He
Yeah.
couldn't even remember it.
And they still had him killed.
Yeah.
They did the old Assassin's Creed in the prayer booth or confession booth kill.
I do. So like, I feel like at the beginning of the movie, I feel like, oh, only the higher ups know. But by the end, it's like, look at all these workers who probably know. How is this not getting out?
I thought about that too. So
like
they're
it's
probably
really
like
hard
live separately from the main population or something.
Maybe because like, yeah, it's really hard to. The more people who know a secret, the less chance of it,
Well,
remaining a secret.
there wasn't a lot of people inside that factory though. There's
No,
like,
but like, do all the drivers know?
well, that's the thing. They swap
drivers
out the
don't.
drivers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
the drivers get out at the gate.
Yeah.
Okay.
So probably the people who work at the plant, maybe the drivers of the dump trucks don't know either because they're just dropping them off on the conveyor belt,
Yeah.
So it's only really those those people inside who know exactly what's going on. And there was only like 2 or 3 of them in there,
Yeah.
and
like,
whether that was like a
when-
budget constraint or that was done on purpose, it is effective in the way that you're talking.
For sure.
And when
for
they saw
sure.
Thorn in there, they like started attacking him, like trying to kill him.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
they must be like very well paid or something.
Very well paid and extremely buff for scientists.
Well, when you think about it, I mean, they probably know the ramifications of something like this getting out, and then that's their jobs gone.
Yeah. True.
And not to mention the millions of people who are probably going to starve to death. But hey,
Yeah. Well,
That's the solution. Is you do tell people and say, hey, if you can't live with this, become food for those who can live with it. Population and food, like our population goes down, our food source goes up. We're good.
Which reminds me, I wanted to mention you brought up when he said that they were going to start breeding them, which I hated that line because I was like, clearly there are plenty of people. They don't need to start breeding people for food. They
Yeah.
just like are going to start taking people before they're ready to die.
Yeah, agreed.
that's true.
And then once population is lower, they can, start working on fixing things again. And
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, maybe,
Plant some trees.
So when Soul found out the secret, and he went to like the suicide place, so he knew he was that like his final fate would be to become food, and he still willingly went.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
what else is going to do?
Yeah.
I could handle that more than knowing I'm eating
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, let them eat me. I don't need to eat them.
Yeah.
I will say, Saul did pick it's, they like ask his favorite color, so they make the room that color. And I'm just like, "Ugh, why would you pick orange? Like,
Me
it's not calming at all.
Yeah, it looks so
Terrible.
odd. Yeah.
Like, even if it's your favorite color, you don't want to be in a room like you're just like, okay, no, can we change the color? This is just
I mean, he wasn't even sure. He was like orange, I guess. Like,
yeah.
Well, I mean, the definition of of what orange symbolizes is warmth, joy,
It's true. It's true.
It's not the
enthusiasm,
feelings I feel when I look at orange.
happiness, fun,
Yeah.
enjoyment. None of those. Okay.
Yellow.
No.
The yellow maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, yellow is for like, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, yeah, orange is a bit of a harsh color for sure, but you're wondering if it's symbolizing something.
Yeah, I could accept that answer.
You think he'd pick like green or blue just because
Blue?
one, they are more common,
blue.
but also you don't get to see a lot of that. Like they just see a lot of browns and grays and yellows because of the pollution. So you'd want, hey, give me water, give me plants. I don't see those.
Well, the video does that.
The video does do
Yeah,
that. It's
right.
true.
So maybe he just picked orange because it's a color maybe he hasn't seen in a while.
Maybe.
Probably. Could be.
If you were gonna die that way, what would you want to see in a slideshow?
Do you
I
want
would
the
be.
meme answer? Really?
All of the above. Yes.
I want. Yeah, give me both.
I'll take the Shrek trilogy on sped up to be 20 minutes long.
Nice.
I want the blue song Dabba Dee Dabba Die to repeat for the whole time.
For
The
20
people,
minutes.
the people
Yes.
inside the chamber who are doing it all are like, I'm ready to go too now.
Jeez. I'd be fine with especially if I lived in that world where I didn't get to see nature or anything anymore. I'd be like, yeah, show me some nature stuff.
Yeah, I think they did a pretty good job with their
yeah.
selection.
Yeah, my honest answer would be like, show me just full underwater scenes. Like I love seeing the fishes, and of course it's very blue.
The
Yeah.
sheep.
Show me all the marine life, yes.
Yeah.
I want to see more forest and mountains, please.
Yeah.
What about you, Chamillyon?
Yeah, I think I'd say the same. I love aquariums. I would be all for that. But again, I do think they did a pretty good job. I wasn't unpleased with any of the images that they showed, especially if I had not seen any of that in a long time. I would be pretty happy with that. I want to see highlights from my life.
I don't know if they're gonna have that on record though.
I don't think
Yeah.
so.
Well,
but ideally,
nowadays they would.
Yeah, nowadays
Yeah.
they would.
They would
but
just be showing you your
But my
stream.
YouTube
Yeah.
your
videos.
stream highlights from YouTube's.
Here's a bunch of clips from your YouTube, from your Twitch channel.
There you go.
It'll show you the first time you started Wordle in your stream.
Yes.
Oh yeah, the Wordle clip.
It will never be that good again. Oh, it was fabulous.
And all those crotches shots.
Yes.
All the crotches.
Be
It's
randomly
just a
showing up.
compilation of crotch shots. Perfect.
Yeah, honestly, I just like to see animals, and I like looking at castles. I'd like to see
Yeah,
castles.
castles are cool.
Those are cool, yeah.
What happened to all the castles in this? Like, are they just full of people now? Or are they just still for the super wealthy and it's just one guy living in a castle?
Well, that's what I mean. I imagine that a rich guy bought the land and then just refitted the castle to be like, his palace.
Yeah, probably. That is how they do.
That is how they do.
Do we hear Greedy's pick for what he would want to see?
Ooh, probably just a bunch of pictures of waffles. No,
Ooh.
Die hungry. You
Not
sure?
pancakes?
no, not pancakes.
Never that.
Never pancakes.
I wouldn't. Yeah, just nature. Just the way they did it in here. Maybe some, delicious food.
Yeah, it's a pretty sad thought, but I mean, it's nice that they're going out on their own terms. Like I said before, like I don't know, it's a little bit less brutal than the suicide booth in Futurama.
Yeah, right.
Here's a better question: what music genre would you guys pick?
Oh, that's another good question.
I'm
man.
asking for a Dance Gavin Dance on that
Yeah.
thing.
Of course.
Not a breaking.
You want to go out to that, right?
Sure.
Yeah. I would do We'll Never See the Likes of You Again by Flogging Molly.
Just that song on repeat for 20 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I've told my younger sister. I'm like, if you're probably going to survive longer than me, make sure this is played at my funeral.
I don't think he got the full 20 minutes. You know how he was like the full 20 minutes, right? I'm pretty sure some facts I read said that he only got like 8 minutes or something.
I assume they just didn't want to show us the whole 20
I was about to
minutes.
say they didn't want to
There
see
were some
20 minutes
cuts.
of him. Just
Yeah, but
that's
also,
right.
do you think maybe they just were like, yeah, we'll let you believe that you're getting 20 minutes, but you're going to be dead before then, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's a good
Right,
point.
I
He
guess.
probably
Sure.
didn't get his full time. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they would.
I mean,
Based
think
on
about
what-
how many bodies they need to like move. They're probably like, all right, put a little extra poison in this guy. We got to move it along.
Plus,
Yeah.
you're so immersed in your perfect world, so they might be
Well,
like,
I figure it's also kind of like, when you're going for surgery, if you've ever been in for surgery, and they're like, count down from 100, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, and you get to like,
Make
maybe
it to 5.
Yeah, you don't usually last the whole time unless you're super like, resistant to morphine.
Steve-O tries to do that every time he gets put under. He tries to stay awake as long as he can. I don't think he's made it too long. And that's Steve-O. I mean, he's chock full of drugs.
See, I think I've made it to the 80s.
Wow.
My wife has made it to like 0, and is like, is this supposed to be?
Oh man.
Wow.
Up the
Oh,
morphine.
okay.
That's,
No, she made it.
that's when they have to do the old style of bonking you on the head, you know?
No, they just
All right,
they
get me the
just
crowbar.
upping it with her. They're like, why aren't you asleep yet? I don't know. Up it until she does pass out.
You hear the last thing you hear the doctor. He's like, "Get me the crowbar."
No, it's a steel pipe. That's what you need.
Oh, steel pipe. Whatever. It's in there.
No, you want a rubber mallet. Come on, you don't want to do serious harm.
So, what'd you guys think of the big action scene at the end where the shootout's happening?
We
You
talked a
know,
little bit when we were talking about
this
sound, but
yeah, sound
That's
made
pretty
it
much
a
my
little
opinion.
meh.
it's kind of crazy though with them knocking down all the bunk beds and stuff.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah,
With people on them.
yeah.
Yeah, just shooting. He just shoots like wherever he wants, and he doesn't care who's gonna hit. He's just reaction.
I thought
Yeah.
choreography-wise, it was pretty good. It doesn't make sense to me that some of those guys are just kind of walking out in the open, like easy kills for the guy. But I think at the ending, like scuffle was pretty well shot.
Yeah,
pretty well
no, the end in the
choreographed.
church. That's where it got good. Before that, yeah, it was just kind of like they're just running towards him, shooting blindly, and he's shooting kind of blindly. He hit
Well,
two
he
of
takes
them
out
Mhm.
he takes out 3 guys.
eventually. Yeah.
Yeah, the 3 guys who were just kind of walking towards him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to get you. No. But what are you going to do about it? How about I shoot you? Oh, I didn't see that coming.
Or going back to the riot scene where he was just grabbing guys to like block the bullets. I was like,
Yeah.
"Jeez,
Oh,
that's a little."
man.
The first one was an accident, but the second one, you can't forgive him for that one.
It's like, "Oops, sorry, bud."
Yeah. That was my first audible gasp.
I'm here to protect and serve myself.
I mean, you gotta imagine like there's just so many people dying every day during that time. Just like, yeah, who cares? It's like the lieutenant when he was talking to the lieutenant. There's like, all right, well, you've been investigating this. There's been like 8 murders that you get us solved.
Yeah. And he sees that dead mom on the steps with the baby, and he just
Just takes
brings
the
the baby
leaves-
inside. Yeah.
Yeah, like no big deal.
So,
It happens. She'll become food source when the carts come around to pick up the dead from the night.
yum.
Bring out your dead.
Help.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we're not in that future yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Unfortunately, though, we might all be the same age as Soul when
That comes around, yeah.
when that all comes around. So we'll be like,
Well, we can just go home.
Yeah. I vowed to tell somebody before I decide to die.
it'll be in VR chat though,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone will be in VR at that point. That's
all
why
right,
it's
sir.
like,
What do you want to see
focusing.
in VR before you die? Damn, I just want to see a real hot demon girl with big old titties.
no, but I feel like even if we got to that point where it's like, okay, hey, how about we sustain people on like some sort of IV or whatever, but like have it be substance, and then just put everyone asleep and in VR, and they're living like the Matrix, but they're not powering a computer.
Yeah, there was episode of Black Mirror where the people put their consciousness into like a server that was like a virtual reality, and then there was also Soma. The big
yeah.
finale of that movie is not movie, but video game.
Game.
People are putting their consciousness into this server and shooting it out into space. So
Ooh, can I have that option?
yeah, the only problem is like with that plan is like, what if you get shot into like a floating debris or something? Yeah.
Oh, space is so big, it's probably not.
This
gonna
whole thing
happen.
to try and save humanity's spirit. Well, that's it. Bye.
There's the ricochet.
You know what I feel like? In Star Trek, sometimes they'll just run into a giant like conscious entity. It's just a big like light cloud, and they just have a consciousness. It's probably originally from Earth, shot back in 2022,
Yeah.
and they're just like, now I'm omnipotent. It's like, are you though? No.
What if I press this switch on the side there? No, don't do that.
Push the button. The red button.
Don't press the button. That'll turn me off. I mean, that will, shit.
Whoops.
But anything else you guys want to mention about the movie? Guys and girls? Apologize.
Folks.
I think I got all my points across.
Chamillion's a
Covered
bro. You
everything.
can call her a guy. She's one of the
Yeah.
guys.
Bro. All
Part of the
everybody,
ship,
bro.
a part of the crew.
I do have one final question. Greedy, you said you might move to Florida soon, right?
Oh, maybe, possibly.
If you do, can I be your furniture?
Oh,
Oh.
only if you give me a what was the ending of that last episode? A wet.
Sweet and wet kiss.
Yes,
Yes.
Right.
Of course.
I mean, that would literally be his job.
Perfect.
Glad we
Anything
got
else?
that out of the way.
Yeah.
Now that we got that out, I mean, that's the most important question of today. Yeah.
Just lost all our viewers.
No, we gained a bunch of viewers now.
Yeah.
Not the kind you want.
Also, yes.
True.
All right, if we're ready, Chamillyon, go ahead and start us off with final thoughts and rating out of 5.
Well, I don't ever want to watch it again. I was pretty intrigued by it though, so I'd say overall I'd give it a 2.5 because it kept me captivated and intrigued because it kept me with surprises besides just the final plot at the end, but I really didn't enjoy watching it.
Really?
Yeah. A little too old and weird for me, I think.
Yeah, it took me a minute to get into the movie, but once I did get into it, and I kind of cast aside some of like the 70s, just kind of of the time type stuff. I did get into it. I thought it was really interesting. I just wish that they had expanded more on some of those weirder kind of like you see it once kind of things, like the scoops,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And I mean, I thought in general it was well acted. Obviously I think the best character was Edward G. Robinson. So there you go. It was tough to kind of get behind the main character, for sure. I mean, he was a bit maybe a little bit too, I don't know, weird. I don't know. But I think that it was fine. I think it does raise a lot of questions and raise a lot of eyebrows. And like I said, it does take like, I don't know, 20-30 minutes to get into it. But once you're into it, and things start kind of going, it is a very interesting and interesting watch for sure. So I'm gonna give it a 3.5.
Yeah, I do agree that it is a tough start. But once it does start going, it does get a little better, a little more intriguing. I do agree that it didn't age too well, and I'm also glad we're not in this time, at least not yet, as we've been saying. I do agree that we're not, or it didn't age well. The acting was good. I just feel like Thorne was a little just off-putting in this role. Just I don't know. To me didn't fit right. He was like too big and bulky. I don't know. It's the best way to describe it, I guess. I did enjoy the ending, and it does leave a few questions like, what would you do? I do like that aspect. Yeah, and overall, I will give it a 3.5 out of 5 as well.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of agree. Like I thought the acting was fine. Obviously, the best character was Saul. But yeah, Thorne was definitely a little hard to follow a lot of the times. It wasn't until the very end when he actually kind of finds out what's going on that you go, okay, now he's at least trying to do something that's good, I guess. But yeah, I agree with Chamillyon. I don't ever plan on watching this again, and if someone asked, "Hey, do you want to watch this?" I'd probably go, "I'm okay."
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I mean, like I said, acting was great. And interesting story. But yeah, there was a lot of things not solved. So I don't know. Maybe you have to read the book, Yemmy, and tell us if any of those things are in there.
Wait, isn't that your job,
Oh.
Tay?
I was hoping I could pawn this off on Yemmy this one time.
Good try. But no, denied.
All right,
Denied.
fine. Overall, I'd give it a 2.75.
Wow.
Whoa.
Can we round up or down?
That's the problem. Is like, do I round up or down? Like, I'm
Yeah,
like kind of a 3, but it's also
You're gonna
2.5.
mess up Callus's spreadsheet.
Yeah, even though I haven't worked on it in like 2 months. Yeah, don't mess it up.
All right, we'll say it's a 3.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, only thing I wanted to add to that is the fact that I usually don't mind seeing old movies. Like I've watched a whole bunch of Hitchcock movies, like I've mentioned, and I don't really mind the oldness of it. But for this one, it was definitely a lot more noticeable. Partly because every time they were like outside, they just went so heavy on the fog and the filters. It's just that a lot of those scenes were like kind of just uncomfortable to watch. And I do agree with you guys. It's not a movie that I would probably want to watch. Like there's some mystery movies that once you discover what the big mystery is, you kind of like want to go back and see it again. And with having that context in your mind, the second viewing might be interesting. But with this one, yeah, I don't think it would be very interesting to watch it again. So overall, I would give it a 3 out of 5.
Alrighty.
I'm glad that as the one that suggested this, I gave it the lowest rating.
Hey, you wanted a long, good conversation, and you got it.
Yes.
It was a very
Or-
good conversation, yes.
It was
Next one is Twilight.
Oh,
No.
God. No.
I'm
Yes.
game. I mean, I started this podcast for that very reason, to watch movies that maybe I wouldn't watch normally. So
Yeah.
Well, I'm retiring.
You're cool.
You
No.
can do that
take my
on-
place. Season 3.
Okay, deal.
We're going on to season 3. See you, pals.
come on, you guys gotta be. You can't
I've-
quit just because of
I've
a movie
seen
recommendation.
Twilight
Do
before.
it and you're cool.
Once
I've seen
was
it before
enough.
too.
Do it and you're
Yeah.
cool.
If it gets selected, I'll watch it, just like I'll watch Transformers if it gets
Yeah,
selected
no,
as
I'd
well.
watch it too.
Yeah.
It's the spirit of the
I-
podcast,
I
guys.
just
I watch
grumble the whole
Carriers.
time.
You
I
can-
don't
yeah,
wanna watch
I mean,
Carriers,
we-
but I watched that.
I would love to just shit on a movie for the entire episode. Those are fun episodes too.
Exactly.
They
That's
are,
true.
although
Yeah.
usually they're our quickest episodes.
Yeah.
We're just like, it was
Well-
bad. Well, and the
Right,
discussion.
Brightburn was pretty long.
Yeah, I'm gonna say we
Brightburn.
don't watch Brightburn again.
Never.
Revisit.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, speaking of the next movie we're going to watch, I have a recommendation for us. Now, I'm giving you guys a choice here. Do you want me to do something completely different, or do you want me to do another futuristic movie?
I
Doesn't matter
think
to me.
kind of think we
Chamillyon
should
being
keep
the
the
guest.
futuristic theme.
I was gonna say
Chamillyon picks, yes.
Chameleon being the guest. Let her decide.
Good idea. Chameleon picks.
Silence.
The
Mm,
fate
Chameleon.
of the podcast is in your hands.
It is. I think something different.
Something completely different? All right, this is going to be fun.
I better be Monty Python and now for something completely different.
It's gonna be Twilight. He's gonna select Twilight.
Yes.
Can
Do
the
it cool,
can
do
the
it
ferret talk, please?
No.
No,
'Cause-
not allowed.
Because Tay, actually, you're pretty close. The movie that I'm recommending is Kung Pao Enter the Fist from 2002.
Ah, nice.
Oh.
And this was directed and starring Steve Odekirk. The reason why I'm selecting this is because Callus said that he hasn't seen it in a while, and I
That's
realized I haven't seen it in a while either, yet I quote it all the time. So I thought it'd be a fun conversation to have, and hopefully,
I literally have
hopefully it holds
a
up.
sound clip of it on my channel from that movie.
Me too, actually. So here's the synopsis. A movie within a movie created to spoof the martial arts genre Writer and director Steve Odekirk uses contemporary characters and splices them into a 1970s kung fu film, weaving the new and old together. As the main character, the Chosen One, Odekirk set off to avenge the death of his parents at the hands of kung fu legend Master Pain. Along the way, he encounters some strange characters, and this, of course, stars Steve Odekirk, Lung Fei, Tad Horino, and we'll just say a bunch of other people as well. But this was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid, and the first time I watched this, I was literally rolling on the floor laughing, and it never stopped. I laughed through the whole movie. Now, I haven't seen it since college, so it's going to be a nice rewatch for me, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it holds up. I'm sometimes when you recommend movies like this, where it's like I remember it being so funny, and then you rewatch it, you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
But I mean,
think
the fact that I still laugh at things that this movie does tells me that I'm gonna have a good time with it. At least I'm gonna have a good time. I don't know about you guys.
I think I remember, like, I saw it, I think, a few times in theaters, and we were just laughing like crazy. And then I saw it later as an adult, and like there were still really funny moments in it, but overall, I was like, it didn't hold up quite as well.
I do still have this on
talk about
DVD.
it. I still
but
have
we'll
it on
see.
DVD.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how you guys feel about it. I just thought, you know what, I haven't seen it in a while, and anyway, it's one of my favorite movies. So
I think our theme for this time now is movies
Martial
that
arts?
were made in the 70s.
Oh,
well, yeah, it's funny that
Technically,
the
not
movie
really,
they're
but
parodying
I guess-
is made in the
Technic-
70s.
Yeah, the original movie was in the 70s.
yeah,
and,
it does. Yeah, okay. But can the new theme be martial arts though?
We'll see what Greedy picks.
We'll see.
But Chamillyon should watch this movie since you like licking things and tongues, and this movie has a very
Oh,
interesting scene with a
what?
very long tongue.
I've got a terrible reputation now. What have I done to myself?
Welcome to streaming.
What a weird world. But yeah, it'll be fun to watch.
All right. Well, of course, thank you to Chamillyon for joining us on this episode of the podcast. If you want to check her out, she is on Twitch, twitch.tv/Chamillyon, spelled like Chamillyon.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
It's a pleasure to have you on, and hopefully we'll have you on again when and if, and probably when, your next movie gets voted in.
Twilight it is.
All right, I'm writing it down. I'm writing it down right now. It won't be on the next vote, but
Official.
we'll put it on the next vote.
Yeah.
Pretty soon we're gonna have Transformers and Twilight just all in the vote.
Yeah. It's going to be
No.
Transformers 1, Transformers 2,
No.
Twilight 1, Twilight 2. Take your pick.
All right. Well, anyone else have anything they want to mention before we end the show?
Tay does.
Remember to clean your ass.
Ah, yes.
Stay awesome, possum.
Awesome possum.
There you go.
Is it opossum or possum?
Well, I am Yemmy the Soylent?
That's
I don't
not
remember what I said.
but we'll go with it.
And I've been here with...
Green waffles, which could be worse.
Hey, Mation is made of people.
And Soylent Blue.
And Camilla Bean.
And we are Film Freakz with a Z. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.